Welcome back. Along with assignment and the comparison operators, there are also logical and arithmetic operators which we can take advantage of in JavaScript. So as ever, we've headed into this lessons folder, which is number 10, and also open this up inside of the browser. Just like the previous video, we have some comments, which has a list of all of the available operators. The first set is the arithmetic operators, and then we'll get onto the logical ones just afterwards. So with the arithmetic operators, a lot of these are just common sense, such as the addition and the subtraction, and a lot of these are also very similar to the previous video, but just not combined with the equals operator. So for example, this is one which we looked at previously, and this plus equals will then add up both of these numbers and then reassign the new value to be number 1. So we know these are 15 and also 5, and this result of number 1 would then be equal to 20. However though, if we were to remove this equals and just have the plus symbol on its own, as you may expect, this would just simply add both of these values together, meaning we could directly output this into the console, or we could also store this inside of a variable to make use of in anywhere inside of our code. Just below, uncomment out this line of code where we grab this page title, and then we can set the inner text to be equal to our result. Let's try this out over in the browser, reload this. We'll get the value of 20 because we've added together both the number 1 and the number 2. This works for not just adding it together variables like this. We can also, for example, let's do a console log. We can add simple numbers just like this. So 5 plus 3. Open up the console and there's our value just here. And we can also use it to add together strings too. Above we have a constant of forename and also surname. We can use this operator to add the forename to the surname. And also, as we've looked at previously, we can also append as many strings as we want to. And this will also add a space in between the forename and the surname. So save and refresh. And there's the full name now displayed. Let's just remove this console log. And we can look at some more of these operators just above, as you may expect. We can replace this with subtract. And this will give us the result of 10. We have the star, which is the multiply symbol. So this would now be 15 multiplied by 5, giving us the result of 75. We also have the remainder operator, which is this percent symbol just here. And remember from previous videos, this will do a division and output any remaining numbers afterwards. For this one, 5 goes into 15 3 times, leaving a nice round number and 0 remainder. But if we were to change this to be 4, it'd be 4, 8, 12, and then we'd have a remainder of 3 to make up 15. So these are very similar to the assignment operators we looked at previously. But as you can see here at the end, there is 2 other additional operators which look very different to the previous video. And this is the increment and decrement. And the first one, which is the double plus, this is increment, and this will increase the original value by 1. Or the decrement, which is the double subtraction. This will decrease the value by 1 each time. To see this as an example, we need to change this to be let, so we can update this result. And change this to be a multiply, so the result is going to be 60. So 60 is now stored inside of this result. So if we go down to the next line, and then we then select this result, and then add the double plus afterwards, which is the increment. Save this, refresh. This has now been increased to be 61. We could also do this again by copying and pasting, and this would now be 62, so it increases by 1 for each attempt. This operator is useful for many situations, and for example, in one of our upcoming projects, we'll use it multiple times, such as each time a new order is placed, we increase the order number by 1 for each order. Also, we have the completed pizzas variable, which will increase by 1 each time the chef completes one of the pizzas. We can then store all of these numbers and display them at the end of the game. The opposite is to use 2 subtract symbols, which is going to decrement the number, which means it will decrease it by the value of 1 each time. Remember, the original result was 60, then we'll reduce it by 2. Refresh, and this leaves 58. Below this, we also have the logical operators, and as you can see, there is only 3 of these on the screen. These logical operators are often combined with if statements, which we will cover later, but they're also useful on their own too. If we wanted to check if multiple conditions were true, we could use the logical AND operator, which is this double ampersand. For example, if we wanted to know if number 1 was equal to 15, and also if number 2 was equal to 4, before performing any code. So we could do this by, let's remove this example. I'm just going to move this below as well. We'll recreate our result. And then we can use the logical operators to perform a check. We want to check if our number 1 variable is going to be equal to 15. So the triple equals, this is equal type and value. So now this will store a true or false value inside of result. But like mentioned before, what if we also wanted to check if number 2 was equal to 4? Well, the way we could do this is with this AND operator, and we can also perform a second check. This time we check if number 2 is equal to 4. Let's save this and refresh the browser, and this is true. Both of these checks, this one and also this one, is both true. So this is why we get the result of true. If we change any of these to be a different value, such as number 2, since one of these is now different, this would then result in false. Okay, so that's great, but this of course relies on both of these conditions to be true. But what if we wanted to know if only one of these was true? So for example, if number 1 was equal to 15, or if number 2 was equal to 4, we may want to get a value of true back if either one of these is a result of true. Well, for this we have the OR operator, which is these double pipes. So let's change the double ampersand to the double pipes. And now we know that only one of these values is true. We should now see true inside the browser. Also the same if we change this back to before. Now we know that both of these is going to be equal to true. This would also be true, since remember, we only need one or more of these conditions to be true to get the result of true returned. Last but not least, we have the exclamation mark, which is the NOT operator. This basically does the opposite and will return a true value into false, or vice versa. And remember that currently inside the browser we are seeing the value of true. If we wanted to check the opposite, all we need to do is to add this exclamation mark before the result, and save this, and this will give us the opposite result, which is false. Checking the opposite like this may seem a little bit strange, but it does have plenty of uses inside of JavaScript. For example, in one of our upcoming projects, we do have a variable called game started, and this is a true or false boolean. We can then check if the game has started, or if the game has not started, by using the exclamation mark before we run any particular code. It's also useful for plenty of other situations too, such as checking if no user exists, and so many more. For a reference to all of these operators covered in this video, and also the previous one too, there are slides available with this course, so check them out if you need a reference.